Now this is where we hit the Kobuk River to make our crossing, and we had quite a problem here. This is the main channel, and there's two islands across there, and then there's another channel on the other side, and we didn't know what to expect over there. But we figured we'd take one step at a time, and getting across this main channel was quite a problem. Doc thought he could swim across with the wire to get it on the other side. He made 2 or 3 attempts, but the water was just too cold. He couldn't stand it. And like it says, we tied a wire on a rock. We take about 20 foot of the combat wire and put a rock on it and swing it overhead and then let it go. And we got the wire across. Well, of course, first Jones was in the boat, and he'd get on the island side and pick up the wire then, and then we just shuttled the boat back and forth. Pretty fancy work. There comes Jones out in the boat. He's going to get across to the island. So we still didn't know what was on the other side. We're halfway across that river, so how to get out of there remained to be seen. Well, as it turned out, the other one was wadeable, and that was no problem. This is Davis. He's starting to look pretty tired here. Now, after crossing the Kobuk River here, our traveling changed considerably. We ran into an awful lot of brush here, willow, alder, and as a matter of fact, we practically had to use the machete all the way cutting the trail through. We had about at least 150 miles of this until we broke out on the Kobuk River. That's Noratak Lake, that below us there where Guy Moyer had his cabin. Now, as you look down below, we start running into that red bush down there. Those are blueberries, and they're frozen now. The yellow stuff is caribou grass. This is the Haugatsa River. There's so many bear on there, it's just like on our trout streams here. There's a trail worn on each side. We didn't run into any here, fortunately. We weren't even looking for them. Sometimes you'd have to stop and blow that boat up just to make a crossing like that. It's either that or go 10 miles in some direction to hit the dam, Beaver Dam, but you don't know which direction it's in. Doc had the 300 and he hit that squirrel at a long distance there right in the head, and he was really proud of that. Doc, I got to tell you, he comes from Missouri, and he was a morale builder. He was our medic. And we used most of his tapes up there to patch up clothes. That's what those white things are. And this is where we broke out on the Kobuk River. the town of Allakaket. It's about 5 miles upstream. The pilot landed his plane on a sandbar there, and he borrowed a boat from, there's two Baptist women running this there. One's a school teacher and the other's the Baptist minister. And this is Allakaket. There was two, well, last on the other side of the river from here, the last Eskimo village, and this was the Koyukuk Indian village. And the Koyukuks finally drove the Eskimos out, so it was left just to the Indians. But they've been here, and they have the, that's their chapel, and they have a little school there, but they're Baptist ministers. Anyhow, we were to still continue further down to Kananau, which was another 125 miles. But by this time, it was getting pretty cold, the middle of September, and the plane had no, it's a light plane, and they were afraid of losing that because it had no de-icers on, and they figured that we did enough to warrant the trip. So they canceled us from this point. But the closest out we had was up at Bettles. It's a CAA station about 90 miles up this river. The problem was getting there, so this L-19 was just a two-passenger plane, so well, anyhow, we spent a whole day there just shuttling one at a time from here up to Bettles. And of course, I was the last one to leave. By that time, there's the two Baptist ministers. There's old Big Hair. Pretty well beat up by this time. The toes of my boots were even worn through. Well, anyhow, they shuttled us out one at a time, and I was the last one to be picked up, and it was getting late in the afternoon, and the plane come in. There was Spears on the plane, and he was taxiing, and he hit a soft spot in the sandbar, and all at once I see the propellers in the sand, and his tail is up in the sky. So don't know what to do. I had to crawl up the fuselage over there to the tail to break the plane loose from the sand. Anyhow, when it dropped, why, the blade was bent, so we put no tools. We put two sticks in the sand and rocks, and we feathered out the prop because there's rocks in the sand. Anyhow, we worked on it for about an hour, and he says, let me try it. So he taxied around, and he said, oh, it'll never do. So we worked about another hour, and it's almost getting dark, and he says, well, let's give it a try. He says, I'll try to get 1,000 feet or so, and he says, you just watch the river for a sandbar, because we're following the river up there 90 miles. In case we have to go down, we hit a sandbar. Well, we got, I don't know, we just airlifted off the wheels off the ground, and golly, that plane was just vibrating to pieces. And he looked at him and he said, cross your fingers. Well, anyhow, we limped in there that 90 miles, but oh, that was slow going. Anyhow, they had a C-46, and from there they flew us back into Ladd Field at Fairbanks. That's the producer on the left, and yours truly. Well, that's about all there is on that. So, hope you enjoyed it.